Welcome, everybody, to Casting for Two, the podcast, as always, hosted by me, Chris. Welcome, everybody, to episode number 338. The last couple episodes of July 2019, will be in the books. It's been a busy one, but you know what? I got to finish strong because that's what I'm known to do. When it comes to the podcast world. But you know what? If you've enjoyed all the content that I've been putting out, whatever platform you're listening to this on, whether it's the website, castingfor2.com, or, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, Radio Public, iHeartRadio, whatever it is, feel free to drop me a review, and if it's good, I'll read it. If it's not, I will. It will not exist to me. There you go. But of course, if you want to keep up with me, outside the podcast, my Instagram and Twitter is the best place to do that. At Casting for Two, super easy. Made it easy for you. I should talk about my guest. My guest today is a wonderful singer, songwriter, musician. Anna Volpe is on the show, and I have to say, she has a new EP out right now. It is phenomenal. It is great, and I would recommend people going and checking it out. But Anna, it was just such a huge blast to talk to, and I'm excited for everyone to listen to this episode. So I think right now I have to stop talking so we can get into this episode so it can start and begin and play from the beginning to the end. That sounds like a plan. So everybody sit back, relax, and Chris, cue the music, please.
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well. It's slow morning. Slow morning.
Good.
But so you're in New York, right?
Yeah, I'm in New York City. Yeah.
Okay. Have you been there your entire life?
I have.
Yeah. Any plans on leaving ever?
Maybe to Nashville. I'm actually taking a trip. I've been down Nashville a couple times, through tours and recording and stuff. But I'm gonna spend a couple of days next week to just explore as kind of just like a regular person and not really do very much work there while I'm down there. So yeah, possibly Nashville. I don't know. I went to college in Connecticut, so I left New York for 4 years, but I never lived really anywhere except New York City. So I don't know. I feel like it's time for a change.
And is it I know you said you were going to Nashville to do tourist stuff and explore, but is it because the music scene is bumping over there?
Yeah, kind of a myriad of things. I've been down in Nashville a couple of times, and I really love the music community for sure. I think it's different than New York City. I think it's a little more tight knit. I mean, I think maybe that has to do with it being a smaller city compared to New York City. I also have been the last year or so writing music for TV and film, and that's something that I am thinking I want to do as a career. And I love being an artist, and and I love, performing and all that kind of stuff, but I kind of see myself more having a career in the studio rather than on stage. And I know that a lot of licensing and publishing companies are down in Nashville, and I know that a lot of songwriters and producers have moved down there to pursue that type of career. And I've met a lot of people the last year or so who have careers in that, part of the industry. And so, yeah. And I think also, I don't know, it's a different, kind of lifestyle. It's not the Northeast, and I think it's nice to kind of do something, change it up. I don't know. I think it's easy to get, into like a very comfortable rhythm in life, but I kind of want to disrupt that a little bit, not in like a bad way or anything.
Right.
Kind of put, things into perspective, and I can always move back. That's kind of like my philosophy. It's like nothing's forever. I can always, and I have so many friends and family I could stay with to come, when I visit. So, and also New York City has gotten really expensive. I've kind of, there's just several things that in New York City, I'm kind of just over it, and I kind of just want to change. I don't know. So, yeah.
No, I totally get the idea of just not wanting to get the hell out, but, wanting to, experience something different.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Does the environment around you affect the way you write music?
I would say, yeah. I mean, naturally, I think it kind of has to. I feel like I've written more. Well, no, I can't say that for sure. I feel like, I mean, in terms of like my indie pop, like my EP album was all recorded in Nashville, and I think that, I mean, some of the songs were written in New York, but most of everything was done in Nashville, and I think if I did it all in New York City, I think it definitely would have come out differently. I think I'm trying to think. I mean, I feel comfortable writing. Like, I'm trying to think, like, since it's a slower pace, I feel like it just naturally, the environment, sorry, you like hear sirens now.
Yeah. Like, please don't think that hard, okay?
I know, right? Exactly. I just feel that, like, it's just more relaxed when I was down in Nashville, and it just kind of flowed a lot easier. While I think in New York, it does obviously flow also in New York, but I think when you're, like, the idea of, like, having a stressful, subway experience, like, as you're going to a co-write session, that's obviously going to affect one's, when you get into the studio. And I feel like I definitely I felt that before, and I don't know, which can be good and, bad in terms of writing. I think it, can help definitely when you're frustrated or angry or sad or whatever. It can help, your writing for sure. Or just make you more stressed out, either or.
No, I mean, so I grew up, I was born in Texas, but I moved to Oregon as a young boy. And there, immediately I noticed that there was a totally different change in just, the attitudes of the area I was in. And I've since visited my buddy who lives on the East Coast. There is a bit more of a hurry and hustle on the East Coast.
Definitely.
And
so true.
Yeah, and sometimes, especially if you're like yourself, who's been there for a long time, it's nice to just relax and chill.
Yeah, right. Like, what's that? Like, I just feel I think it's gotten worse too in New York City, and I don't know if it's like, I think it's a combination of people being frustrated about kind of like, outside things that are happening, and then like having to get places. It's making it more getting more difficult to get, to places within New York City. So I feel like, I don't know, people, it's definitely, it's so interesting. And just like people are, not saying that like, I think it's such a stereotype that people think that New Yorkers are like mean. I mean, they definitely can be.
Right.
I mean, people can be mean anywhere.
True.
But I do feel that like while I was in Nashville, I don't know, the people I met, I worked with, whatever, they just seemed a little more, I don't want to say friendly. I think it's just like a more of a like welcoming type of feeling that you kind of don't really get sometimes from New Yorkers. I don't know if that's like that southern, whatever they call it, southern charm, southern hospitality, or whatever you want to call it.
Right.
But yeah, so I don't know. It's interesting. I think it's a good thing to see other parts of, to live other parts of the country or the world, and I think it's kind of, people always say that New York City has everything, which, I mean, yeah, compared to most places, it does, but I think it also, it has, other places have other things to offer that New York City doesn't have to offer, so I think it kind of like, it depends on how you, I don't know, what you want in life, and I don't know, I think it's interesting.
Yeah, no, it definitely makes sense, and usually, I tend to be a friendly person on the outside of the world. If somebody locks eyes with me on the street, like I'm gonna say hi or morning, or
smile.
Sometimes I don't receive that back, and I totally get that, but it's definitely is weird when. Because I grew up with that southern, you hold the door open for people. And,
sure.
And I did that one time, and this girl stared at me all weird, like I wanted something from her. I'm holding the door for you. Come on in.
Yeah.
It's like, geez, settle down, people.
That's funny. Well, yeah, when you hold the door for people in New York City, most people will say thank you, I think. But then there are definitely a lot of people who are, well, I mean, and you don't know what they're thinking. They could be like so concentrated in I feel like everyone's in their own world sometimes here in New York or here on the East Coast. Like they won't even think that they're not like trying to be mean or rude. They're just like on, stressed about parking or, stressed about, something random, and they're not even thinking about what's happening in the present, or they're on their phones on, whatever, Facebook or something. So it's, I don't know. It's weird.
But so I wanna put a pin in this, and maybe we'll come back to it. I want to know though, when did you catch that music bug?
Yeah, good question. Let's see, the music bug. I kind of have different, not answers, but different like parts of my life where I was like, oh, like I want to get into music, blah blah blah. So, I mean, I grew up in a very musical family. Not really, I mean, my mom was a dancer, a ballerina. So, like, classical dance was always something in the family. But then my dad wasn't a performer. He was in arts management. He worked, for the Metropolitan Opera in Lincoln Center. And so I was very much surrounded in the classical arts world and, like, with opera and that kind of thing. And so it was always very much, a very big part of my life and just like classical singing and all that kind of thing. I didn't start, I started singing when I was fairly young, I would say, and I took, I had the opportunity to take voice lessons, with people who, and kind of just be able to be surrounded by like very wonderful and talented singers in New York City. And I, started taking voice lessons when I was maybe in middle school. And so then, which then I continued to do that like, throughout high school and in college. when I was around high school or college time, I kind of was very much against, going into music as a career, even as in a degree. But I then, started becoming friends with people who were in the music industry in New York City and who were, working musicians, and like they, were performing all the time, and that was something that I didn't really knew kind of existed. I always thought as a child that like it was very skewed. It was just either like you perform at the Metropolitan Opera or like you're not a musician. It was very much skewed, obviously, because that's all I really knew. But during like my first or second year of college, I kind of saw like a whole other world that I just didn't really know existed, and especially in New York, because there's such a vibrant, music community and industry in the city, and so that was kind of when I decided I wanted to then ended up getting a degree in vocal performance, and I was trained classically, throughout high school, and then more, more so in college. Mm-hmm. And I started then in college performing kind of backup singing for this one band that was based in Brooklyn, and then kind of started to perform more and doing more just background gigs and that kind of thing. And I did that for about 2012 to around 2017. And I still do, background, session and studio and kind of freelance gigs. But kind of during 2016, 2017, I kind of felt, I had a couple of years under my belt doing more, singing for other songwriters and other artists. I kind of wanted to, try it myself. And I didn't really, I wrote somewhat, with the bands that I was with sometimes, and, to write on my own, not really thinking very much of it, but then wanted to really focus on that in around 2016, 2017. And that's kind of when I started releasing my own music. I released my first single in August of 2017, and then that next year I went to Nashville the spring of 2018, and I recorded my EP and kind of been, writing ever since with all sorts of different people throughout New York, Nashville, LA, and kind of haven't turned back. And then, the last year or so, I've, discovered, sync licensing and, writing for mixed media and the, moving picture and that kind of thing, which I've always really loved, and I didn't really realize that was something that indie artists could do, and they very much can. And so that really, I was like, oh, I love doing this. And I see myself doing that more than actually performing, mm-hmm. The career. So, yeah, I would say the bug. I mean, I always kind of had the music bug since I was a little girl, but in terms of taking it really not, I don't want to say I inevitably ended up where I, thought I would kind of start from where I would end up in life. But yeah, I feel like the different parts of what I'm doing now throughout my life, I've kind of different, taking different turns in this journey, which has been exciting. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, you mentioned that you write songs for film and television and all that. Is there ever a time when you're writing a song and you're like, you know what, this is too good to give to those guys. I'm just going to keep it in my back pocket for me?
Yeah, I mean, I think what's great about being an independent artist and writing for whatever, project or, thing that you have in mind is that you can keep, like I could release, if that was a song that was really, really good, I could release it, you know, as me as an artist, but then pitch it to like non-exclusive libraries or agencies. So it's like I could do both. I could release it as an artist, but then, you know, also pitch it for certain opportunities. So kind of you could do both, I would say. I think I try not to write. I try to write, and I obviously there are certain things that can be different for music and TV and film compared to just, you know, writing, you know, very specific types of songs. But I don't know. I guess I'm still just trying to find my voice as a songwriter, and just writing as much as I can, and definitely writing, you know, for specific projects and for specific things and just certain briefs or whatever. But I feel like I'm definitely still also just writing to write and whatever I'm feeling that day, or writing with different people and different, I don't know, different themes and aspects in a person's life, stories that I think I want to tell, that kind of thing. So yeah, I would say if it's really, really good, I think just release it. That's the most important thing, is just to release it. I think because there's so much, you know, it's people are. That was one thing that I, you know, and still like learning to deal with, is the idea of not, you know, being nervous and scared of releasing stuff. It could be a very, I don't know, scary thing to really put yourself out there. And but I think, yeah, the biggest thing is to release it and not to let it just sit on your computer or whatever. It's most important to have other people listen to it, because you know, people, no matter, you know, there's so many people in the world, and I think no matter what, someone will relate to the song or to some aspect of, you know, person's music. So yeah.
And so you know, you mentioned you grew up with a classical frame of mind, and then you did backup singing in various bands or projects. Where do you find your particular tone, and specifically for your EP?
Like, where do I find it? What do you mean, like?
Yeah, or like your own style. Like, was it hard to be like, I don't know what to do? Rap album, country,
Yeah, right. No, that's a really good question. Yeah, because I as a background person, as a kind of a freelance person, I've done all sorts of styles, like country to R&B to, you know, like very, like, not musical theater, but like kind of like singer-songwriter, musical theater-ish. Yeah, all sorts of genres. But I think growing up, I've always been influenced by, like, I love folk music and I love pop music, and I was always kind of very much would gravitate towards that as you know, while I was growing up. And so I think I naturally went in that direction as a songwriter. And I'm definitely influenced by so many different artists nowadays. And I think I try to use that inspiration in my writing as well. So I think I kind of just fell into this kind of genre of indie pop, indie folk, singer-songwriter, but with kind of a more production-wise, more synth, more modern feel to it. And that's kind of just, how it just kind of fell into place in a way. I think the producer also in Nashville, his name's Thomas Dove, and he's awesome, and he kind of helps me a lot with really trying to find my my tone in the production side of it and in like the writing part of it. But I think I kind of just fell into it in a way without really thinking about it, which is pretty cool, I would say.
Nice. And so, out of the 5 songs on the EP, was there one song in particular that just took a little bit more time to figure out, whether, the lyrics wasn't working or the music wasn't working?
Good question. Okay. No, I mean, I think they all kind of fell into place pretty quickly. I think Call My Name, which is the title track of the EP and was the second single I released, I think that saw the biggest change. I kind of came to Nashville with an idea. I had that title song, Call My Name, already created, but the song was like completely different. When I brought it to Nashville, and so I think that kind of, I wrote it with Thomas, or rewrote it really with Thomas and my friend PG Banker, who also lives in Nashville, and we kind of wrote a completely different song. I think that probably it took a whole day out of the 8 days I was there. It pretty much took a whole day to kind of reimagine and reshape to the song it is now. I would say that's probably the biggest one. I think Burn also, it was a song I wrote with my friend Andrew Giolanella, and we didn't really change any of the songwriting when I was down there in Nashville, but the production-wise, we definitely we added a lot of like string parts, and I think that also took some time to really figure out what we wanted the song to be and what we wanted to have it sound like. So I would think those 2 songs were definitely took the longest to kind of create.
Okay. And for the people at home who want to pick up the album, the EP, follow you online, where can they do all of that?
Yeah, so my handle is Anna Volpe Music, and that's for Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. My album's on all streaming platforms, Spotify, Amazon Music, iTunes, everywhere people listen to music. Album's called Call My Name, and CDs, physical copies are also available, and they can order that on my website, which is just annavolpe.com. And I also have T-shirts, so that's pretty cool. I feel very official with like new merch. That's besides the CD. But the T-shirts, it's also available on my website. And that's pretty much it.
All right, nice. Thank you so much for reaching out, but also sending me the music. When I first listened to it, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was so lovely, and I can't wait to see what else you do.
Oh, thank you so much, Chris. I really appreciate it.
Of course. But I'll let you go back to your New York world, and I do whatever it is, I don't know. Hustle, I guess. Hustle.
The hustle, yeah, sure. Get back to the grind. As people would say.
There we go. But anytime you want to come back, just let me know. All right.
All right. Bye.
Bye.